Hello, and welcome to yet another 100 Epic Reads of a Lifetime reading vlog. I think we're finally at number 9. So here I am again to do yet another set of 4 books from the poster, and this time around it is once again summer. Unfortunately, I am starting off the month of May incredibly rainy. We're basically stuck in a little baby version of a monsoon season. I'm supposed to get rain here where I live for the rest of the week. So exciting stuff, but at least that's me staying indoors to read. Unfortunately, I am not liking the book that I have to read off the poster this month. For this month, I am putting myself through a little bit of torture because I have decided to pick Gone with the Wind by Margaret Mitchell as my read off the poster. For those of you who don't know, this book is pretty infamous for being considered one of the great epics of our time. It even says that right here on the book. However, it is, I believe, even more famous for being incredibly racist, as this book is set during the Civil War on the side of the Confederates. This is set in the South. There is a lot of descriptions of slavery, of plantations. There is a lot of heavy use of racial slurs, of racist behavior towards slaves, mistreatment of slaves, and there is also heavily hard to read accent writing from the black characters. It is making this even more of a chore to read. I was already going into this book expecting just the worst kind of racism, but yet I'm still surprised somehow. So essentially, the book is about main character Scarlett O'Hara. She lives in Georgia, I believe, during the events of the Civil War. She's more focused on trying to get married. She's got a few suitors. She has a crush on this guy, Ashley. She wanted to marry him. He's getting married to someone else. She only just recently met the love interest of the book, Rhett, and he was kind of like a jerk. He is a notorious player. And all of this is set right at the start of the Civil War. They just announced that Abraham Lincoln was calling forth for men to fight in the Civil War. This book is 1,000 pages long, and it certainly feels like it. A lot of the descriptions of the setting and the clothing are perfectly fine, but it does the very, very old 20th century writing style where it will start a paragraph by saying, for example, Scarlett is sad. It then takes a few paragraphs to explain why she's sad, her motivations, her inner turmoil, her thoughts. That's fine. But then in the next paragraph, it will go back to say, and so Scarlett is sad. And then it describes on her face how she's sad. Put it in chronological order. I don't like this flip-flop, flippity-whoop. I hate that. So I started my reading with 130 pages into it, and I have flipped through a few pages, mostly a lot of the descriptions of the plantation and a lot of the interactions between slaves. It's bad. There is a character, and I can't even say her name because it's considered just a horrible racist stereotype and probably a slur at this point. She is the main slave to Scarlett, so you probably know who she is, but she is also just horrible to all the other slaves. For some reason, they tried to make her she's not like other slaves, and she uses horrible language towards them and beats them and threatens them. I don't know why they did that, maybe to make her one of the good ones, but it's gross, it's yucky, it's gross and yucky, and I hate it. And yeah, so far, I knew going in that this was just going to be a chore to get through, and I'm not enjoying it so far. And in my defense, this was about $1 or 50 cents at the thrift store, so I didn't put too much money into this. So this is not going to be a deep read for me. This is just going to be getting through this as fast as possible. Let's see if I have any more thoughts as I'm reading this, but I doubt it, so stay tuned for my final thoughts soon. Alright, it is days later, and I finished Gone with the Wind by Margaret Mitchell. I'm leaving it unrated on Goodreads, and on my poster I gave it 1 star. I did not like this book at all. It cannot escape its Confederacy past, it cannot escape the racism, slavery, horrible use of slurs, horrible treatment of black characters, horrible writing out of their accents, belittling them, just a terrible, terrible atmosphere all around. I tried to skip everything about the Confederacy and I was just unable to do it. And I don't know if in the movie they changed anything. I barely know anything about the movie, just a few of the iconic lines, like, frankly, my dear, I don't give a damn, fiddly dee, I'll think about it tomorrow, stuff like that. But she marries 3 men. One of them dies 2 weeks into the Civil War. One of them dies another time, and then Rhett, right? She has kids with all of them. She just has 2 kids with these randos? What? Why? Why? And then, like, her child with Rhett dying is very, very sad. That's a very upsetting thing, and it had nothing to do with the Civil War or anything, so, like, that was the only time I was ever like, oh, that sucks really, really bad. But this whole thing being, like, a romance set around the Civil War, it's just, like, the horrible, like, romanticization of, like, the fallen soldier, the fallen South, all of that. I just did not connect with this in the slightest. I am, like, very far away from all of this mentality, the American South mentality, so I didn't really gain anything from this book. I did notice, though, on the poster, it looks so cheap. It looks like they're just doing a tango. I think they were trying to recreate this moment on my poster, but they're, like, little dumb little, like, tango dress. It's just not period accurate. It looks very cheap and very hilarious. So yeah, this was a terrible book. I'm going to get rid of it as soon as I can, and hopefully next month's pick is better. So stay tuned until then. Hello, welcome to the June section of this vlog. It is the middle of the month. That's a whole thing. It's fine, I've been very busy, but I finally am getting to the 100 Epic Reads poster book for the month, and that is The Golden Compass by Philip Pullman, the first book in that trilogy. This is a fantasy, sort of young adult novel about this character named Lyra, and she has a demon named Pan, and he can, like, turn into, like, any animal, and she has, like, I don't know, kind of like a liar, that's why her name's Lyra, and she's kind of like a shitty person. She, like, lies constantly, and she's always, like, snooping and eavesdropping, but I guess that's the catalyst for the plot. She sneaks in on a meeting and finds out that the adults in her life, which she doesn't know are her parents or who her parents are, they are looking for something called dust in, like, the north, so they're doing that, and she lived in a college, it's like a whole thing, but now they're journeying to find this dust and to solve a mystery about all these missing kids. Incredibly lukewarm, incredibly boring. I don't really understand why there is, like, a magic system in the first place. I do like the lie thermometer, the little, like, thing that she has that, like, helps her determine truths and stuff. I love that. That's a cute little device. That's the only piece of magic that I've liked in this book. I just don't like this. I understand why I didn't pick this up as a kid. This is just, I don't know. It's fantasy, but it's incredibly boring. It lacks a certain whimsy to me. I'm sure that the TV show does a better job setting up the world and the effects and all the, makes it look better, but in the book it's very dry. The writing is very dry. I am, like, halfway through it and I haven't been invested once. Like, if Lyra got taken and killed, I wouldn't care. It's just a lot going on, and a lot of it is not sticking with me, and I find the book very boring. I don't want to pick it up every day. It's just, I'm not enjoying this at all. I'll see if my thoughts change when I'm finished the novel, but for now, those are my thoughts on it. Very boring. I'm sure I wouldn't have even liked this when I was a teen. This is just sort of not my genre. I don't know. Fantasy, I can't really get into my head as something that I can accept, because most of the time the lore and the world building and the reason for the magic is just for the magic to exist, and I need there to drive the story, be important in some way, or connect to the character's growth, and so far that hasn't happened yet. So stay tuned for the scratching, obviously, and if I have any final thoughts on the book. Hello there! So for the month of July, I am reading Ender's Game by Orson Scott Card. I'm currently this much of the way through it, and so far, not a huge fan. It's doing the thing where the main character is considered the special, the only one who can save the human race, and he's 8. So I don't really believe that. I don't believe that children can do that, but he's suffering a lot in his little magical school, so I'm getting a lot of the same vibes from another certain series, so I'm off put by that. I do think it's interesting that the terms that are used for what is now considered the internet and computers and tablets, very interesting stuff. I think we actually get a few terms that we use today from this book, because the book says that it was published in the 80s, so that's incredibly interesting. So either he helped coin some of these terms, or he was just really, really on top of the trends of the internet, which are the most interesting part of the book so far. Also, the idea of his psychopathic older brother essentially becoming like a Redditor, spreading his like man's rights activism all over the internet and encouraging people that way. It's a bit telling for modern society, so that also is an interesting detail. But otherwise, this book is a little bit boring. At least it's easy to read, because I know some science fiction is going to get very jargony, and this one's simple enough. So I will let you know my final thoughts pretty soon. So I finished Ender's Game by Orson Scott Card, and I am giving the book 3 stars. I thought that the training section of the book dragged a bit, so I wasn't really enjoying it in the middle, but the ending part with the reveal about the games was really effective, and I think that that's a very haunting thing to do to a child, obviously, so I thought that that was very effective storytelling. And it's cool to see all of those proto-internet terms actually being used properly, because sometimes in science fiction speak, the sci-fi words are like never used and it's kind of embarrassing, but they used words like the net and vids to describe videos, and we use those words today, so that's pretty exciting. So the book is getting 3 stars from me because it was well written and it was an effective story, but ultimately I will not be continuing the series, mostly because of the author's horrible anti-LGBT views that just tarnished even the text that I was reading. It's very clear to me why the aliens derogatory term was buggers, and why getting rid of them, right? Eradicating them was the main objective of the human soldiers. So yeah, while I read the book and semi-enjoyed it, reading it off the poster, I will not be continuing the series, nor will I ever look into Orson Scott Card's work, because fuck that guy. So that is it for this month, and stay tuned for next month when I read something. I don't know yet. Hello and welcome to the final month of this reading vlog. We are finally in August, and once again it is a very anticlimactic month and an anticlimactic book, because I am reading The Sun Also Rises by Ernest Hemingway. So far it is a very incredibly boring story about this guy who has a friend and has like a few lady friends, and he's thinking about going to Spain. I know that the book is about somebody becoming like a matador in Spain or going to Spain or something. That's all I really know about it. And this is once again one of those books where it's like, why am I reading this? What is the purpose of this book being on the poster, because I want to try and gain like an understanding of why it's on the poster. Is it just because it's a Hemingway book and he was a popular author? Because so far this doesn't really have anything for me to absorb properly and gain proper meaning from. And I like doing that when I read a book. Like, I don't understand why it was put on the poster. There's a lot of choices on this poster that I don't really understand. I'm about 47% of the way through, and I have gleaned nothing from the process so far. I also just was obviously incredibly shocked by the racial slurs, but what can you do? The book was written in like mid-century? I don't know exactly. I don't really care. This was just a short book to finish out the video and the month. So yeah, my final update will probably be very similar to this one. I did not like the books this quarter, so I'm hoping that the final quarter of the year will have better results. So stay tuned for my final update. Hello again, this is just a quick pop in to say that I finished The Sun Also Rises by Ernest Hemingway, and the book is getting 1 star from me. The book was so, boring that I had to actually look up the Wikipedia for the book to see what kind of actual importance that it had. I get now that it is, fiction based on Ernest Hemingway's life to some capacity, based on his social circle and what he did in his life. He was like a reporter who actually went to Spain and actually did research and stuff, which is better than armchair travel for your books and armchair research. And also his group, his circle coined the term the Lost Generation, which was the generation after World War I. So that's kind of interesting, I suppose, but the book itself was far from interesting to me. It just didn't compel me in any significant way. It was very boring, it was very jarring, and that weird interlude about one of the characters saying that the Civil War happened because Abraham Lincoln was gay. He used the F slur. Weird. I don't know. Plus, everyone ganging up on the one character because he was Jewish was also very off-putting. It's just a very off-putting book. At least with The Man in the Sea, The Old Man in the Sea by Ernest Hemingway, it was like a fable. It was a little bit fantastical. It was poetic. It was very simple. And I could understand the importance of that. This book, I didn't understand the importance of whatsoever. Like, if I were studying this for class, I wouldn't even know what to write about. It was incredibly dull. And it just was very surface level, and it didn't really have anything for me to remember. I finished the book days ago, and I really don't remember anything that happened in it, so it was just very, flat for me, and I'm glad that I've completed it already, so I don't have to read anything like that ever again. So that was my reading off of the 100 Epic Reads of a Lifetime poster for the summer of 2023. I hope to read 4 more books off of the poster this year, so stay tuned for my final video, which will be posted in November. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you all next time. Bye-bye.